Okay, last video for the week. Your reading talks about interaction design principles: visibility, feedback, constraints, mapping, consistency, and affordance. I don't want to go into super detail on what each of these are. You can read about them in the reading. What I want to do instead is give you an example of each one. So continuing with that YouTube mobile app example, what is visibility? It's making the functionality visible. So in the example we looked at, we were thinking about this specific interaction of how people are going to watch a video and how they can watch it in the top of the screen, or they can make it full screen and watch it that way. How do we make that functionality visible? You can see that the button is really obvious. They made a button here to make it obvious that you can press this button and watch the video full screen. They put a big play button on it. If you don't want to make it full screen, it's very clearly visible that you can just press the play button from here. Feedback. These are the audio, tactile, verbal, and visual responses that the system, usually its interface, makes to show the user whether their action was successful or not. So when you are using the YouTube app, if you press this button to make the video full screen, it actually has a little feedback. It gets this bubble around it, and then once the bubble kind of shows you that you press the button, it just rotates the video. So you know as the user that you did it right because you get that visual feedback. You press the button, it did an action. So that's all feedback means. Constraints are showing what isn't possible. I don't actually have a good example for this particular YouTube example because there's not really anything on here that they're preventing you from doing, but showing what isn't possible, keeping users from really making huge mistakes and doing the wrong thing. The only example I could think of is maybe if this video had downloading turned off, where you see this download icon here, if that was grayed out or just missing, then that would prevent users from trying to download something that downloading is turned off for. Mapping is placing controls near the thing they control. Another term for this that I really like is called functional grouping, putting buttons that do similar things near each other. And the idea here is to make the cause and effect related. So on the YouTube mobile app, every icon that appears inside the video somehow controls the video. Either it closes the video, or it allows the video to start auto-playing, or it sends the video to another device, or it turns on captions, or it plays, or it makes the video full screen. So everything that controls the video itself is inside the video. Everything that is about the video but doesn't actually change your experience of the video is on this bar. You can like, you can dislike, you can share it, you can download, or you can save. None of these things change whether the video plays with captions, plays full screen or not. These are all about the video and not controls for the video, so they are together. And then consistency is another principle, similar elements for similar tasks. So again, here in the video, every icon that is related to controlling the movement of the video from start to finish has the same triangle. So the play button is the triangle. The go back is the same triangle but smaller with a line. The go forward is just the opposite of that. So we're using consistency by using the same triangle shape in all of these icons. And then same down here in this functional group, all of the icons are outlined icons. So they look similar. They use the same visual style, which means that they do similar things. And then we also see that YouTube has these up and down arrows. Every time you see one of these, it's exactly the same arrow. Some might be big and some might be small, but it's the exact same arrow. And these all do the same thing, which is to open or close content. So anytime you see this arrow, consistency tells you that it's going to make something bigger or make it smaller, like get it on the screen or get it off the screen. And then affordance, this one I think is probably my favorite to talk about. The term affordance means to give a clue, and it's the idea that objects, whether they're physical, like this, or digital, like these, can express to us some clues about how they work based on how they look. So let's do a quick example. Every single picture on here is of a teapot, except for one. There's one thing on here that is not a teapot, and you should pause the video and give yourself a second to see if you can figure out which of these things is not a teapot. Okay, you ready? This one. This is not a teapot. Why is this not a teapot? Well, what is a teapot, right? A teapot is a container for storing a hot liquid or a liquid that we make hot. We have some way of pouring it through a spout into something else. So a teapot needs to have a spout, it needs to have a container for a liquid, and it needs to have some way of holding and pouring it. So if we look at this example right here, we see this handle. It just looks like a thing that you can put your hand on. It's shaped like a thing that your hand can go on. The spout, it's shaped like a thing that liquid can pour through. The body is shaped like a thing that holds something else. Same here. This is one of the ones that I usually trips people up and they say, that's not a teapot. Well, it doesn't have a handle, but you can hold it, right? The fact that it's this long sort of stick-looking thing, kind of, you feel like you can just put your hand around it, and then you can see the spout and you can see that it's capable of holding something. So it has enough affordances for us to kind of use it as a teapot. So because everything on here has some way of holding it, some way of holding something, and some way of pouring, makes us think that they're all teapots. But this one that is outlined is actually called the masochist teapot. It's an art piece, and you can't actually use it. If you held the handle and poured it, you would be pouring the hot liquid onto yourself. So it tricks you by using affordances. It tricks you into thinking it's a teapot by having a thing that you just feel like you can hold, by having a container that you just feel like you can fit liquid in, by having a spout that just looks like liquid can flow through it. It looks like a teapot because it uses the affordances or clues that we associate with a teapot. It just looks like you can pick it up and pour, but you actually can't because you would burn yourself. So that's everything I wanted to talk about this week for interaction design. I look forward to seeing your portfolio projects progress, and I will see you in next week's videos.